In the middle of the ocean, a chilling message was received. Not a normal distress call, not a request for help, but something far more terrifying. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. And then, after a pause, one final line came through the radio. "I die." That was the last message anyone ever received from a mysterious ship known as the SS Ourang Medan mystery. No explanation, no details, just death. Imagine being the operator who heard that message. A voice, weak, broken, possibly surrounded by bodies, sending one final transmission before disappearing forever. At first, it didn't make sense. Ships send distress calls all the time. Mechanical failures, storms, accidents. But this was different. There was no mention of fire, no sign of attack, no warning of danger, just death. Every single person on board, gone. And yet, the ship was still floating, still out there, somewhere in the vast, empty ocean. Nearby vessels quickly picked up the signal. One of them, a passing ship, decided to investigate. As they approached the coordinates, the ocean was strangely calm. No storm, no smoke, no signs of damage, just silence. And then they saw it. A ship, drifting aimlessly. No movement, no crew visible on deck, no response to signals. It was as if the ship itself had been abandoned by life. The rescuers cautiously moved closer. They called out. No answer. They signaled again. Still nothing. Finally, a boarding party was sent. As they climbed onto the deck of the Ourang Medan, something felt wrong immediately. There were no sounds, no footsteps, no voices, just the faint creaking of the ship and the endless sound of the ocean. The air felt heavy, unnatural, almost as if something invisible was still there, watching. They began searching, and what they found would become one of the most disturbing discoveries in maritime history. The bodies were everywhere, on the deck, in the hallways, inside the cabins. Men, frozen in place, not injured, not bleeding, but dead. Every single one of them, their eyes wide open, staring into nothing, their faces twisted in expressions of pure terror, as if they had seen something so horrifying that their bodies shut down instantly. One man was found pointing toward the sky, as if trying to warn others of something above. Another lay near the radio room, where the final message had been sent, his hand still near the equipment, as if he had used the last of his strength to tell the world what was happening. But whatever he saw, he never got the chance to explain it. There were no wounds, no signs of struggle, no indication of poison, nothing that could clearly explain how an entire crew died at the same time. Even the ship's dog was found dead, its body stiff, its teeth exposed, frozen in a silent snarl. Whatever happened on that ship, it affected everything alive. The rescuers were shaken. This wasn't normal. This wasn't something they had ever seen before. It felt wrong, unnatural, dangerous. Some of them reported a strange feeling, like the temperature around the bodies was unusually cold. Others said the air felt toxic, difficult to breathe, and yet there was no visible cause. No smoke, no gas, no fire, nothing. It was as if death itself had passed through the ship, leaving no trace behind. They quickly made a decision. The ship needed to be towed back for investigation. This was too important, too strange. They attached ropes and began preparing to move the vessel. But before they could leave, something even more terrifying happened. Smoke, thin at first, barely visible, rising from below the deck. The rescuers noticed it almost immediately. Something was burning, but there had been no fire before, no signs of heat, no warning. And now suddenly, the ship was starting to burn from within. Panic spread quickly. They had seen enough. Whatever had happened here, they didn't want to be part of it. The order was given. Abandon the ship. Immediately, they rushed back to their boats, cutting the tow lines, trying to get as far away as possible. And just as they created distance, it happened. A massive explosion. The SS Ourang Medan erupted in flames, tearing itself apart in the middle of the ocean. Fire shot into the sky, the structure collapsed, and within moments, the entire ship sank beneath the surface. Gone, just like that, taking all its secrets with it. No investigation, no evidence, no answers, only questions. What caused the deaths? Why were the bodies frozen in terror? What triggered the sudden fire? And perhaps the most disturbing question of all, what did they see before they died? Some theories suggest that the ship was carrying dangerous chemicals, possibly illegal cargo, substances that could release toxic gases. If those gases leaked, they could have killed the crew instantly. And the expressions of fear. Maybe they realized what was happening just seconds before death. But this theory has problems, because toxic gas doesn't usually cause people to freeze in such extreme expressions. It doesn't explain why the dog looked terrified, or why some bodies appeared to be reacting to something, not just suffocating. Others believe something even stranger. They think the ship may have encountered something unknown, something not human, something that cannot be explained by science. The pointing man, the terrified faces, the sudden, unexplained fire. It all feels wrong, as if the crew experienced something beyond normal reality. And whatever it was, it didn't leave survivors. The most frustrating part, there are no official records confirming the full story, no detailed reports, no solid documentation. Some even argue that the ship itself may never have existed, that the entire story is just a legend. But if that's true, why do so many versions of the story exist? Why do the details remain so consistent? Why does the final message still send chills down the spine of anyone who hears it? All crew dead. I die. Those words feel real. Too real. And sometimes, that's what makes a mystery truly terrifying. Not what we know, but what we don't. Because somewhere in the vast, endless ocean, there are things we will never understand. Things that happen without witnesses, without explanations, without closure. And the story of the SS Ourang Medan might be one of them. And just like that, the SS Ourang Medan was gone. No wreckage recovered, no bodies examined, no official investigation completed. Only a story, carried by those who were lucky enough to escape. But sometimes, a mystery doesn't end when the evidence disappears. Sometimes, that's where it truly begins. Because what followed the sinking of the SS Ourang Medan mystery was not silence. It was confusion, contradictions, and theories that only made the story darker. Some of the earliest explanations came from those who believed this was not a supernatural event, but a human mistake. A dangerous one. According to this theory, the ship was secretly transporting highly volatile chemicals, substances that were never meant to be exposed. Things like potassium cyanide or nitroglycerin, materials that could release deadly gas if stored improperly. If even a small leak had occurred, the entire ship could have been filled with toxic fumes within minutes. The crew, unaware of what was happening, would have started to feel the effects almost instantly. Dizziness, panic, confusion, and then death. But here's where it gets strange. Toxic gas doesn't make people freeze in place like statues. It doesn't twist faces into expressions of extreme terror. It doesn't cause someone to point at the sky, as if reacting to something they can see. And it definitely doesn't explain the sudden fire. Because if the chemicals were that unstable, the explosion should have happened earlier, not after the rescuers boarded the ship. So maybe that wasn't the full story. Another theory suggested something even more terrifying: carbon monoxide poisoning, an invisible, odorless gas, known to kill silently, quickly, without warning. If the ship's engine system had malfunctioned, it could have filled the entire vessel with this deadly gas. The crew would have lost consciousness, collapsed where they stood, and died without even understanding what was happening. But again, something didn't fit. Carbon monoxide doesn't create fear. It doesn't make people look like they've seen something horrifying. It doesn't cause animals to bare their teeth in terror. And it doesn't explain the urgency of that final message, because the operator didn't just say they were dying. He described something. All officers, dead, lying. That's not confusion. That's observation. That's someone seeing death happening around them and realizing they are next. So what if the cause wasn't chemical? What if it wasn't mechanical? What if it was something else entirely? There are those who believe the SS Ourang Medan encountered something unknown, something not recorded, something not understood. Some have even connected this incident to strange electromagnetic phenomena, sudden bursts of energy, Natural or unnatural forces that can disrupt the human body, affect the brain, cause hallucinations, extreme fear, even cardiac arrest. If such an event occurred near the ship, it could explain the synchronized deaths, the terror, the confusion, the feeling of something being wrong. But even this theory struggles to explain everything, because electromagnetic waves don't usually cause fires, and they don't leave behind such a specific pattern of fear. Then there are the theories that go beyond science, beyond logic, beyond what we are comfortable accepting. Some believe the ship may have encountered something from the depths, something that came from below. The ocean is vast, deeper than we can fully explore. There are regions where sunlight never reaches, places where life exists in forms we can barely imagine, creatures that have evolved in complete darkness, some of them massive, some of them unknown. What if something surfaced near the ship? Something that triggered fear so intense that the human body simply couldn't handle it? What if the crew saw something they were never meant to see, and that sight alone was enough to stop their hearts? It sounds impossible, but so does an entire ship of people dying at the same time, without a single clear cause. And then there's the theory that connects this story to something even more unsettling. Experiments, secret operations, hidden technologies. The mid-20th century was a time of intense scientific exploration. Governments were pushing boundaries, testing limits, trying things that had never been done before. Some believe the SS Ourang Medan may have been caught in the aftermath of such an experiment. A test gone wrong, a field effect, a release of energy, something that affected the ship and everything on it. If that's true, then what the crew experienced was not an accident. It was collateral damage. But there's a final theory. The one that refuses to go away. The one that people whisper about, but rarely say out loud, because it sounds too extreme, too unbelievable, too terrifying. What if the SS Ourang Medan story is not fully real? What if parts of it were changed, altered, exaggerated, or even created to hide something else? There are researchers who claim that no official records of the ship exist, no registration, no confirmed documentation, no verified ownership, as if the ship itself was never meant to be found or remembered. And yet, the story persists. Across decades, across sources, across different versions, always with the same core details. A distress call, a dead crew, faces frozen in terror, a sudden explosion, and a mystery that refuses to die. So what does that mean? Was it a real ship with a hidden history, or a story created to distract from something even bigger? Because sometimes the most effective way to hide the truth is to bury it inside something that sounds like fiction. That way, even if people hear it, they won't believe it. And maybe that's exactly what happened here. Because whether the SS Ourang Medan was real or not, the fear it creates is very real. The idea that something could move through a ship, kill everyone, leave no trace, and disappear. That idea stays with you. It makes you think. It makes you question. It makes you look at the ocean differently. Because out there, far from land, far from help, there are no witnesses, no cameras, no immediate answers, just water, endless water, and whatever might exist within it. So the next time you see the ocean, calm, peaceful, endless, remember this story. Remember the message. All crew dead, I die. And ask yourself one question. What could cause an entire ship full of people to die in fear at the exact same moment? Because whatever the answer is, it's still out there, somewhere, hidden beneath the surface, waiting.